All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Time for Around the Association. Scott Walker in the house, the Vice President, Class of 90. Hello, sir.
Howdy, Dave.
Howdy. And Sue Owen, Class of 94, Digital Communications Manager. I've followed you on Twitter for a long time. Happy to finally meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
I left you hanging there. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of stuff going on. I feel like football season is such a grind, and you guys are so busy. And then the spring semester comes, and of course we get to take time out. Oh no, we have a bunch of more sports and a bunch of other stuff going on. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Yeah, spring is super busy for us, coming out of a great spring. Class reunions, Aggie Ring Day, largest Aggie Ring Day in history. 7,100 rings in that order. All sorts of awards that the association sponsors, awards for students like the Buckwires Spirit Award, which is very unique in that it's the only award specifically for involvement and leadership. Awards for professors, awards for staff, of course the Distinguished Alumnus Awards, which are the highest honor bestowed upon a former student of Texas A&M. Coaches Nights, so we've done 5 of the 6. We got 1 left in San Antonio coming up. Commencements, we go to every commencement, we shake every hand. 12,000 students graduated, and if you walked across that stage this spring, then you shook the hand of somebody from the association. So it's great, a lot of engagement. Aggie Park's always hopping. There's always something going on in Aggie Park now. It's great.
Let me follow up Coach's Night quickly. How cool has it been with Coach Elko to kind of get to know him and his style and how accommodating and nice he is? Very
unlike any football coach we've ever worked with on Coach's Night before. Have you gotten to a Coach's Night this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So his thing is he basically just says, ask me anything. You know, his remarks are about this long, and then it's just ask me anything. I'll stand here and answer questions till y'all are done with me. It's a refreshing approach, and he's seems very realistic about what the expectations are. So we'll see what happens.
She's really busy, right? Like,
oh man,
features galore.
Yeah.
So, what are some things that you're working on? And I know we want to kind of get deep into them.
Oh, sure. We've done this new thing. I'm calling them enterprise stories for the association, where we just dig deeper into something.
Okay.
Dig into the research. I personally have this thing where I love to find out how Aggie traditions started and how they've changed over time. I think that's really valuable for all of us. You know, we reflect. Things actually do change at A&M sometimes.
People feel like that we don't evolve, but we do.
But we do.
Yeah.
Silver Taps used to be one of the first of these feature packages, and we're doing them with a big, nice online presentation so you can really go through them and share them with people. The history of Silver Taps was something that had never... A lot of Aggie traditions you can kind of look up, but nobody had ever really done the history of Silver Taps. And actually this guy here said, go ahead and dig into that. And it took me about 6 years, off and on, mostly off. But, you know, the history of Silver Taps had never been told. And that was the first one of these enterprise features that we launched online.
I would add to that, there's a lot of things that we think we know about Texas A&M's history when it comes especially to our traditions. Things that we learned at fish camp or through campusology or whatever. And none of that really had historic support. And so we wanted to find out when really was the first Silver Taps. Right. Not the story we all heard, but what can be supported by evidence. When was the first muster?
And believe it or not, a lot of new evidence comes up. The digitization of all the battalions, which... a lot of things like that you can find, like new information is coming up. So we're not just we're presenting new findings.
You know, it's interesting too because I get, but why, Daddy? And I don't have the answer sometimes, right? Like, but
I'm
why,
your girl,
Daddy? Right? So, how great is it to have her on staff too?
Yeah. Oh man. So I call her my truth-seeking fact missile. I aim her at a topic and mash that launch button and she comes back and says, okay, actually, the first muster on campus was, the first Silver Taps was, oh, we learned this really cool thing about the rivalry with A&M. And so it's fantastic. It's a unique thing. I don't know that there's anybody else in the world who is spending as much time as she does digging into the history of Texas A&M, the association, Texas Aggies, and our traditions.
Well, and I like the soft side, the goofy tradition side, kind of. Like Scott asked me one time to find out when we started whooping, because people think that things have happened for forever.
When did we start whooping?
The late 60s. It started with people like cavalry people going, whoa! And that's what Aggies from the 60s will do if you ask them to whoop. They'll go, whoa!
Ah.
And then it evolved in the 70s and 80s into whoop! That's a whole. That was probably too loud.
So
sorry.
No, do it again.
what was
There
the
we go.
original horse laugh? Right.
Oh,
we
right.
hiss now.
Right.
But the original horse laugh. I'm gonna make you do it.
I went and videoed a bunch of the class of '54 guys doing
it. That's what it was.
My hand. Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny, like there's a lot of these stories that I know, but I don't know. Like, you know, like I know it, but then I start telling the story. I'm like, wait, I don't really have like the facts to back up what I'm talking about.
Okay, so in the rivalry story, this is actually one thing that I tried to do because I was looking back through, I was like, let's do the soft side of the rivalry, the off the field stuff. And you know, there's mascot nappings, there's nicknames, there's all sorts of stuff. And a lot of our younger people did not live through this. I lived through this, you know. So I was almost trying to kind of arm people.
Okay.
Like, here are some of the myths, here are some of the things you've forgotten about. Like, I had completely forgotten that the UT Hex Rally was a thing, where they lit red candles and tried to hex us. Right?
That's a real thing?
That was a real thing. That happened for many years. So you can go to the online package. There's a picture of it. There's proof.
Yeah.
There's some myths like, well, Bevo did get barbecued, but it wasn't us.
Okay.
We
can prove this.
We can prove this. They admit it. We have in the package. There's an invitation. University of Texas invited us to them barbecuing Bevo because Bevo had gotten too expensive.
So there's an actual invite.
There's an actual invitation in the package.
Wow.
So we didn't steal him and barbecue him.
Correct.
We were invited to.
Right. He had been.
partake.
We did.
Usually when I go to
him.
barbecues, I'm not cooking the barbecue. I'm just, oh, thank you for the steak or the burger, right? Like, I'm there.
Yeah.
And then there's I tried to pull out these cool tidbits too and give people ammo, right? We're going back into this thing. So like all Longhorns like to throw at us that we're like they're in our fight song. Well, people have forgotten, or Aggies don't know what the first lines of their fight song are. I will not do them here because I cannot sing those words correctly.
But it talks about a certain awesome university.
It talks about a university down the road, yes.
I know not everybody's necessarily excited about the rivalry resuming, but the fact is, it is resuming.
I think there's excitement, but there's like mixed emotions to it, right? Like we enjoyed life without the neighbor, but all right, now let's just beat him up.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, that's one of the things I kind of want to do is give talking points and remind us of some of the cool stuff. Like in the online package, there's video of what was called at the time the loudest game in Kyle Field, 1985, when the 12th man, the roar of the 12th man, stopped that game, halted that game 3 times because, and you know all about this, I'm sure. It's still called one of the loudest games in Kyle Field ever, and we've got video of that. And then as we were talking to people for this story, one of the things that kept coming up was the emotion around the bonfire game, and people they're like that halftime. That was really a great moment, and we've got video of that in the package too. And none of us have watched it without songing up a little bit. It was really a touching moment.
David, part of our mission is to, as the way we say it is, perpetuate the ties of affection and esteem formed in university days. We went to A&M, nearly all of us had a great experience, and we left with really positive feelings, and we want people to remember that. That's what we mean by perpetuate the ties. And these kinds of stories are helping us do that, helping us remember why we love Texas A&M and how it changed us and the things that we share, right? We all share these traditions and these values, and so Sue does a great job.
Yeah.
She was built for this. She was born for this. This is what she was born to do.
So I feel like I can tell people, and I know the power of the Aggie ring, but I don't know if I give it justice the way you can and the way your research. Can you go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, absolutely, and that was a project we launched in between Silver Taps and this rivalry project was the Aggie ring. The power of this ring, to me, is that it has looked the same for nearly 100 years and that we all wear it throughout our entire lives. That's the symbolism is very rich. The personal meaning to most people, it turns out, is I earned this. And then the part of the value of it to me is that we all wear the dang thing, and we have been. So you travel around Texas or the world for the last 100 years, you can see this. And it doesn't matter what the person's wearing. They can be in uniform. They can be wearing a Hawaiian shirt on vacation. But you see this and you make a connection. That, to me, and if we didn't wear them our whole lives, that doesn't happen. You know, it's this. It's a neat benefit of being how we are.
Every Aggie I know, every single one, has been somewhere where they did not expect to be stopped
London.
because of their Aggie ring.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be anywhere. I remember when I moved to San Diego, having like within the first day, somebody stopping me, "Hey, you're an Aggie." Like it is powerful, and we sometimes we live it every day. We don't stop and think about it.
One thing we're trying to do with these too is we're trying to collect stories. So we got some stories like that about the Aggie Ring. We'll run things on our website, aggienetwork.com sometimes, where we'll say, tell us about this, put some bones on this, tell us what midnight yell practice means to you, things like that. And we're hearing from some really, really red-ass Ags.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be in touch with people who care. So check us out occasionally and come fill out some of our surveys, and you might wind up in one of the stories.
Scott, you guys are still expanding, looking for people to join your team.
We are, man. And we have great jobs, don't we, Sue?
We do.
I mean, this is our day. We get to talk about this stuff all day. We live and we swim in all this stuff, and it's fantastic. The association is a great place to work. We've got jobs for mid-career professionals, people that want to come back to Aggieland. We got jobs for entry level. We got jobs for students. Great place for students to work. You get all the benefits of being a university student worker, even though we're not part of the university. So, for example, our student assistants get to register early for classes, just like the student assistants on campus do. And plus you get to meet a lot of cool people like Sue and, former students, and it's just a great place to work. And I signed on 17 years ago, and I thought it was my transition job just to get back to this town.
Yeah.
And so I figured I'll do this for a year until I find something else. Here we are, 17 years later, and,
right?
And I'm locked in, man. So I'm a lifer at this point.
Yeah.
It's great. So yeah, aggienetwork.com, tx.ag/association careers will take you to the list of the currently open jobs.
Sue, remind us where we can get your work.
Oh, if you'll head to the aggienetwork.com homepage, you should be able to navigate. It should come up right in front of you.
Bring her back, all right? Especially as we get closer to the Texas game. This was great. Thank you both for coming in.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with John Sheshik, to talk a little Aggie baseball, that and more next on TexAgs Radio.